The Price of Freedom Part 1. The auction block, the last hour of the debt auction on Station Meridian 7, carried a peculiar kind of silence. Not true quiet. The massive trading floor hummed with ventilation systems, distant conversations, and the soft chirp of transaction confirmers, but a muffled, anticipatory hush that settled over desperate places where lives changed hands like cargo manifests. Lissa of Vilnora stood on platform 12, her four-fingered hands clasped loosely at her waist. The position was deliberate. She'd learned in the holding cells that any posture suggesting aggression or desperation lowered your value. Stand calm, stand still. Let them see a person, not a problem. Her skin carried the distinctive bronze-amber tone of her people, darker bands of copper tracing along her forearms and throat where her body's natural patterning showed through. The thin gray shift they'd given her in processing hung to mid-thigh, standard issue for debt settlements, cheap synthetic that would dissolve in strong solvents after purchase. Her hair, a deep auburn that in better light showed hints of gold, had been pulled back in a simple braid that fell to her shoulder blades. Around her neck hung a placard, not physical but holographic, hovering at collar level. The text scrolled in three languages, standard galactic Vilnoran script and what looked like Varenti tradespeak. Debt settlement, LYSSA of Vilnora family obligation, 47,000 credits asterisk offered as, contracted companion spouse level minimum bid, 2 credits 2 credits. The price of a meal in the station's lower districts. Less than a single night's berth in crew quarters. Her entire worth, her family's 3-generation debt, the collapse of their mining operation on Vilnora's outer moon, all of it compressed into a number that wouldn't buy a decent pair of boots. Marcus Chen saw the number first. Then he saw her. He'd been cutting through the debt floor on his way back to the human quarter, taking a shortcut that saved 15 minutes off his usual route from the cargo docks. He worked as a freight coordinator, managing shipments for a mid-sized logistics company. Boring work, safe work. The kind of predictable, stable employment he'd sought after leaving Earth's colonial marines 5 years ago. He'd promised himself no more complications, no more situations where people became numbers on casualty reports, but he stopped walking when he saw platform 12. Lissa stood with her chin level, her violet eyes, vertical pupils like a cat's, something about her species' evolution on a high-gravity world, fixed on a point somewhere above the heads of the passing crowd. Her expression was carefully neutral, not blank, not emotionless but controlled, held together by will alone. A Varenti merchant in expensive robes paused near the platform, eyeing the holographic display. He tapped his datapad twice, checking something, then moved on without bidding. Too cheap, probably. Even at 2 credits, the long-term cost of feeding and housing a companion outweighed the symbolic ownership. A human woman, perhaps a station administrator based on her crisp gray suit, glanced at Lissa with something that might have been pity. She didn't stop either. Marcus felt his jaw tighten. The anger arrived sharp and familiar, the same feeling he'd carried when his unit had been ordered to secure assets in a civilian zone on Kepler 442b. Assets, people with homes and names and lives, reduced to tactical considerations. He'd refused that order. It had cost him his rank, his pension track, and most of his friends in the service. Standing here, watching people evaluate Lissa like a piece of furniture, he felt that same choice crystallizing in front of him. A debt broker, a thin Quellian with gray-blue skin and too many joints in his fingers, approached the platform. He carried a datapad and wore the neutral expression of someone who'd processed thousands of these transactions. "Last call for platform 12, the broker announced in clipped standard. His voice carried through a small amplifier. Family debt settlement, clean medical history, no prior contracts, spouse-level companion rights transfer upon purchase, minimum bid holding at 2 credits, closes in 5 standard minutes. Lissa's hands tightened briefly at her sides, then relaxed again. That was the only sign she'd heard. Marcus walked forward before he could talk himself out of it. The broker noticed him approaching, eyes brightening with professional interest. "Evening, sir. Interested in the lot?" "I want to see her file," Marcus said. The broker's face flickered through a micro-expression, surprise, maybe respect, before settling back into professional neutrality. "Of course, one moment." He pulled up Lissa's record on his datapad, angling it so Marcus could read. The file was brutally efficient. Subject: Lissa of Vilnora *** age, 26 standard year species, Vilnoran. Debt origin: family mining operation collapse, 3 generations of accrued interest. Payment ceased 14 months ago. Subject offered as collateral settlement by family matriarch. Standard voluntary submission forms signed and verified. Skills: basic mechanical repair, mineral assessment, equipment maintenance. Health: excellent. No chronic conditions. Reproductive capability confirmed. Previous contracts: none. Behavioral notes: cooperative. No resistance during processing. Scored high on psychological resilience tests. Marcus read it twice. The clinical language made his skin crawl, but the facts underneath told a clear story. Lissa hadn't been forced, legally speaking, but desperation wore many faces. When your family's survival depended on clearing debt, voluntary became a complicated word. "Any restrictions on the contract?" Marcus asked. "Standard companion terms," the broker said. "Purchaser receives full residential rights, employment authorization, medical proxy. Subject retains basic protections under Galactic Compact Article 7, no physical abuse, adequate food and shelter, medical care as needed. Contract can be dissolved by purchaser at any time with 30 days notice. Subject can petition for dissolution after 2 years, pending arbiter review. 2 years minimum. 2 years before she could even ask to leave. What happens if no one bids? Marcus asked. The broker shrugged, the gesture oddly human despite his alien physiology. She returns to holding. We restructure the debt. Maybe she goes into labor contract instead, mining, station maintenance, that sort of thing. Maybe we try again next cycle with adjusted terms. He paused. Between you and me, 2 credits is already generous. Station wants the platforms cleared. If you're interested, now's the time. Marcus looked at Lissa again. She'd noticed him now, her violet eyes tracking his conversation with the broker. Her expression hadn't changed, but he saw the tension in her shoulders, the way her fingers pressed together just slightly harder. She was trying to read him. Trying to figure out if he was another person who'd look and walk away, or if he was something worse. He pulled out his credit chip and loaded 2 credits onto the broker's scanner. The confirmation chime sounded immediately. The broker's eyebrows rose fractionally. Quick decision. "Clear conscience," Marcus said. The broker tapped his datapad rapidly, processing the transaction. The holographic placard around Lissa's neck flickered, changed, updated with new information. Status: purchased contracted to MARCUSCHEN. Human * transfer complete. A faint vibration ran through Marcus's left wrist where his station ID chip was embedded. The companion contract registered, a thin line of data now permanently linked to his profile until he chose to dissolve it. Lissa's hands dropped to her sides. Her throat moved as she swallowed once, carefully. The broker gestured toward the platform steps. "She's yours. Standard contract provisions apply. Station registry will have full documentation by morning. If you need housing assistance or employment placement services for her, there are offices on level 3. Marcus ignored him, walking directly to the platform steps. He stopped at the bottom, looking up at Lissa. "Can you walk?" he asked. His voice was gentler than he'd intended. She descended the steps slowly, her bare feet silent on the metal. Up close, he could see she was slightly taller than him, maybe 6 feet, with the lean, efficient build of someone who'd worked physically demanding jobs. Her violet eyes searched his face with wary intelligence. "Yes," she said. Her voice was lower than he'd expected, slightly rough. "I can walk." "Good." He pulled off his jacket, a worn brown canvas thing with too many pockets, and held it out. "Put this on." She hesitated, suspicion flashing across her features. "Why?" "Because you're barefoot and barely dressed, and the station's environmental controls skew cold at night." "I'm not fragile. Didn't say you were." He kept holding the jacket. "But you don't need to be uncomfortable." Lissa studied him for another long moment, then took the jacket. She pulled it on, and it swallowed her frame, the sleeves hanging past her hands. But it was warm, and it covered the thin gray shift completely. "Thank you," she said quietly. Marcus nodded. "Let's get out of here." They walked together through the det floor, past the remaining platforms where other lives waited to be purchased or discarded. Lissa kept pace beside him, not behind, though her posture remained tense, ready to run or fight if this turned into something she couldn't handle. He understood that. Trust took time. As they reached the exit corridor, Lissa spoke again. "You paid 2 credits for me." "Yes." "Why?" He glanced at her, then forward again. "Because I couldn't walk away." "That's not an answer. It's the only one I have right now." They stepped into the main concourse, where late-shift workers moved between districts and food vendors sold steaming portions from mobile carts. The smell of grilled protein and spiced vegetables drifted through the recycled air. Lissa's stomach made a small, audible sound. Marcus stopped. "When did you last eat?" "Yesterday." "Morning, they gave us nutrition paste." He turned toward the nearest food cart, a battered thing run by an elderly Korathi woman with kind eyes and efficient hands. "2 orders," Marcus said. "Whatever's hot." The vendor served them quickly, skewers of seasoned meat, flatbread still warm from the grill, and small cups of something that smelled like spiced tea. Marcus paid without checking the price. Lissa stood holding her food like she wasn't sure whether to eat it or whether this was some kind of test. Marcus sat on a nearby bench and started eating, giving her space to decide. After a moment, she sat beside him, close enough to seem compliant, far enough to maintain distance, and took a careful bite of the meat skewer. Her eyes closed briefly. Relief or pleasure or both. They ate in silence. Around them, the station continued its endless cycle of commerce and survival. People passed without looking twice at them. Just another human and another alien, nothing remarkable. When Lissa finished, she set the wooden skewer aside and looked at him directly. "What are you going to do with me?" Marcus met her gaze. "Right now, take you somewhere safe. Give you a place to sleep. Tomorrow, we figure out how to get that contract off both our records. You can't just erase debt contracts." "No," he agreed. "But I know people who understand the legal gaps. It'll take time, but we'll get you free." "Free," she repeated, testing the word like it might be a lie. "Why would you do that?" "Because you're not property," Marcus said simply. "And I didn't buy you to own you. I bought you so someone else couldn't." Lissa stared at him, searching for deception, for the angle, for whatever hidden cost would reveal itself later. But his expression remained steady, open, without the calculating edge she'd learned to recognize in the holding cells. "I don't understand you," she said finally. "That's fair," Marcus said. "I don't entirely understand me either right now." He stood, offering his hand. But I know where I live and it's warmer than this concourse. You coming?" Lissa looked at his hand for a long moment. Then slowly she placed her four-fingered hand in his. "Yes," she said. "I'm coming." They walked together into the crowded corridors of Station Meridian 7, two people bound by a contract neither wanted, beginning a journey neither had planned. Part 2. Safe Harbor. The residential sector of Meridian 7's human quarter occupied levels 14 through 18, a vertical maze of narrow corridors and smaller hab units designed for single occupancy or small families. Marcus's apartment sat on level 16, Unit 47C, distinguished from its neighbors only by a small dent in the door panel where he'd accidentally backed into it with a cargo container 3 months ago. The walk from the concourse took 20 minutes. Lissa stayed close, her borrowed jacket pulled tight despite the gradually warming air as they climbed toward the residential levels. She watched everything: exit signs, emergency panel locations, the faces of people they passed. Mapping escape routes, Marcus realized. Smart. They encountered a security checkpoint at the residential entrance, a bored human guard named Patterson who nodded at Marcus and gave Lissa a cursory glance. "New roommate?" Patterson asked, more curious than suspicious. "Something like that," Marcus said. Patterson shrugged and waved them through. Whatever relationship existed between a freight coordinator and a bronze-skinned alien woman wasn't his business as long as no one was bleeding or shouting. The corridor to Marcus's unit was quiet. Most residents already settled for the night cycle. Cooking smells drifted from a few doors. Something with garlic from 44C, something sweet and unfamiliar from 49A normal domestic life. The kind Lissa probably hadn't experienced in months. Marcus keyed open his door, the panel sliding back with a soft hiss. "It's not much," he said, stepping inside and gesturing for her to follow. Lissa entered slowly, taking in the space with the same careful attention she'd given the corridors. The apartment was small but clean. A main living area with a worn couch facing a low table, a kitchenette against one wall with basic cooking equipment, and a short hallway leading to what was presumably a bedroom and bathroom. One wall held a wide viewport showing the star field beyond the station's rotating sections. Real view, not a screen, which meant this unit cost slightly more than average. "Bathrooms down the hall," Marcus said, hanging his jacket on a hook near the door. "Water's hot, pressure's decent. Towels are in the cabinet under the sink." Lissa nodded but didn't move toward it yet. She stood in the center of the room, still mapping, still calculating. Marcus understood the hesitation. "You want to see the whole place first. Make sure there are no surprises." "Yes." "Okay." He walked down the short hallway. "Bedroom here." He pushed open the door, revealing a modest room with a double bed, a dresser, and a small closet. "You'll sleep here. I'll take the couch." Lissa followed, stopping in the doorway. "You're giving me the bedroom. You need privacy, space where you can lock a door if you want." He pointed to the simple mechanical lock on the inside of the door frame. Old-fashioned, no override from outside. She stared at the lock like it was something precious. "I haven't had a door I could lock in 4 months. You have one now." Marcus moved past her, giving space. "Bathrooms here." He opened the next door, showing a compact but functional bathroom with a shower, toilet, and sink. "Everything works. Use whatever you need." Lissa stepped into the bathroom, touching the shower controls experimentally. They activated at her touch, displaying temperature and pressure options in holographic readouts. "I'll give you some time," Marcus said. "Get cleaned up, settle in. I'll be in the main room if you need anything." "Wait." Lissa turned to face him fully, her violet eyes searching his face. "What's the cost?" "Cost? This." She gestured around the apartment. Food, shelter, privacy, kindness. What do you expect from me? Marcus felt something twist in his chest. The question itself was the tragedy that she'd learned to expect every gesture to carry a hidden price. Nothing, he said. I expect nothing from you except that you exist safely. People don't work that way. Some do. He leaned against the wall, keeping his posture open, non-threatening. Look, I'm not going to pretend I'm some kind of saint. I saw you on that platform, and something in me couldn't leave you there. Maybe it's guilt from things I did in the service. Maybe it's just that I've seen too many people treated like numbers. I don't know. He paused, but I do know that I didn't bring you here to use you. I brought you here because you needed a safe place, and I happen to have one. Lissa's jaw worked silently. She wanted to believe him, he could see it in her eyes, but belief was a luxury she couldn't afford yet. Okay, she said finally. I'll use your shower, I'll sleep in your bed. Tomorrow we'll see if your words match your actions. Fair enough. He left her alone, closing the door quietly behind him. Back in the main room, he sank onto the couch and scrubbed his hands over his face. The weight of what he'd done was settling in now. He'd bound himself legally to another person's well-being. The companion contract made him responsible for her housing, her health, her basic survival. Dissolving it without her consent would flag his record, make him look like the kind of person who disposed of people when they became inconvenient. Not that he planned to dissolve it. But the permanence of the decision was real. He heard the shower start, water hissing through pipes. It ran for a long time, 20 minutes, 30, longer than probably necessary but understandable for someone who'd been denied basic dignity for months. Marcus stood and moved to the kitchenette, pulling out ingredients for a simple meal. Protein bars would have been easier, but actual food felt important right now. He heated water for tea, sliced some preserved vegetables, and warmed a package of pre-cooked grain that would serve as a base for whatever else he threw together. The shower finally stopped. Silence, then the soft sound of movement. Several minutes passed before Lissa emerged. She'd washed her hair, the auburn length now hanging damp and loose down her back. She'd put the gray shift back on, her only clothing, but she looked cleaner, more present somehow. The borrowed jacket was draped over her arm. "Feel better?" Marcus asked. "Yes." She set the jacket carefully on the couch. "Thank you. Hungry again? I shouldn't be. We ate less than an hour ago. Your body's probably trying to catch up from months of inadequate food." He gestured to the small table. "Sit. This'll be ready in a minute." Lissa sat, watching him work with that same careful attention. Marcus plated the food, nothing fancy, just grain with vegetables and a protein supplement mixed in, and set it in front of her along with tea. She ate more slowly this time, savoring rather than consuming. Marcus ate his own portion, giving her space to process. Halfway through the meal, Lissa spoke. "You were military. I heard it in how you talked to the broker, and how you walk." Marcus nodded. "Colonial Marines, 5 years. Got out on general discharge after a disagreement with my commanding officer." "What kind of disagreement?" "The kind where he wanted me to follow orders that would have hurt civilians, and I wanted to keep my humanity intact." Marcus sipped his tea. "Turns out the military prefers the former. So you came here, needed work. Meridian 7 was hiring freight coordinators. It's boring, pays decent, and nobody asks me to shoot anyone." He paused. "What about you, before the debt?" Lissa's hands tightened briefly on her cup. "My family ran a small mining operation on the Nora's second moon. Mineral extraction, independent operation. We had good years." Her voice went flat. "Then we had bad ones. Equipment failures, missed quotas, interest accumulation. My grandfather took loans. My mother took more loans to cover his loans. By the time I was old enough to work, we were drowning, and they offered you as collateral. My grandmother did. Bitterness crept into her tone. She said it was temporary. That someone would purchase the contract, we'd pay them back with mining proceeds, everything would be fine. A harsh laugh. Except the proceeds never came, and the contract got sold twice before ending up on that platform at 2 credits. Marcus absorbed that. Your family's still on the Nora. I don't know. The debt brokers severed communication when they transferred me to the station, standard practice for settlements. She set her cup down. Maybe they're relieved, one less mouth to feed. Or maybe they're terrified about what happened to you. Lissa looked at him sharply. You don't know them. No, Marcus agreed. But I know what fear looks like, and debt makes people do terrible things out of desperation, not malice. She was quiet for a long moment, then softer. Do you think I'll ever see them again? I don't know, Marcus said honestly. But I think once we get you clear of this contract, you'll have choices, including that one. They finished eating in companionable silence. When Lissa yawned, trying to hide it but failing, Marcus stood and began clearing plates. Go to bed, he said. You're exhausted. What about you? Couch is fine, I've slept on worse. Lissa hesitated, then rose. She moved toward the bedroom, paused in the doorway. Marcus. Yeah. If you're lying to me, if this is some elaborate setup for something worse, I'll find a way to hurt you. He met her eyes steadily. Noted. She nodded once and disappeared into the bedroom. The door closed. A moment later, he heard the quiet snick of the mechanical lock engaging. Marcus released a breath he hadn't known he was holding. She was scared. Of course she was. But she was also here, safe, fed, with a locked door between her and the world. It was a start. He made up a makeshift bed on the couch with a spare blanket and pillow from the storage closet. The viewport showed stars wheeling slowly as the station rotated. Somewhere out there was Earth. Somewhere else was the Nora. All these worlds, all these people, and somehow he and Lissa had ended up in this small apartment, bound together by a 2-credit transaction. He lay down, but sleep came slowly. His mind kept replaying the moment he'd seen her on that platform, the controlled desperation in her posture, the way she'd held herself together through sheer force of will. Tomorrow, he'd start making calls. There were legal advocates on the station who specialized in contract disputes. It would cost money he didn't really have, but that was a problem for future Marcus. Tonight, he'd done something right. He hoped. Part 3. Morning light. Marcus woke to the smell of brewing coffee and the sound of something sizzling in the kitchenette. For a disoriented moment, he couldn't place either sensation. He lived alone. His mornings were usually silent affairs of instant beverages and nutrition bars. Then memory caught up. He pushed himself upright on the couch, blanket pooling at his waist, and found Lissa standing at the stove. She'd tied her hair back in a loose tail, and she'd somehow found his spare clothes, an old gray shirt that hung large on her frame, and a pair of his workout pants cinched tight at her waist with a makeshift belt. She was cooking something in his skillet, the pan hissing as she added ingredients. Morning, Marcus said, his voice rough from sleep. Lissa glanced over her shoulder. I hope you don't mind. I woke early and couldn't get back to sleep. Your kitchen had ingredients. It's fine. Marcus stood, stretching out the kinks from the couch. What are you making? Breakfast, or my attempt at one. She flipped something in the pan, looked like eggs or the station's synthetic equivalent mixed with vegetables. I found bread in your storage unit. It's toasting now. Marcus moved closer, careful to maintain respectful distance. The food smelled good, better than anything he usually bothered with. You didn't have to do this. I know. Lissa scraped the eggs onto 2 plates with practiced efficiency. But I needed something to do with my hands and you fed me twice yesterday. This felt fair, fair. The word carried weight. She was trying to establish equilibrium to prove she wasn't just taking without giving. Marcus accepted the plate she offered. Thank you. They sat at the small table, morning light from the viewport washing across the worn surface. Marcus took a bite and raised his eyebrows. This is good. Basic food preparation was part of family rotation on the moon. Everyone learned. Lissa ate methodically, her movements economical. What's your plan for today? I have a half shift at the docks, 4 hours. After that, I'm making some calls about your contract. I could come with you to the docks. Marcus paused mid-bite. You don't have to. I know. But sitting here alone with my thoughts sounds worse than watching cargo move. Her violet eyes met his. Unless you don't want me there. It's not that, I just. He set his fork down. I don't want you to feel obligated. You're not my employee or my assistant, you're just here. Exactly, I'm here, which means I need to figure out what that means. Lissa pushed food around her plate. Yesterday was survival. Today I have to start thinking about what comes after survival. Seeing what you do where you go, it's information. Information helps. Marcus recognized the logic. She was scouting, learning her environment, preparing for whatever came next. Okay, you can come. Fair warning, it's boring. I look at shipping manifests and check that containers actually hold what they're supposed to hold. Boring sounds wonderful after debt holding. They finished breakfast in comfortable quiet. Lissa insisted on cleaning the dishes while Marcus showered and changed into his work clothes, dark cargo pants, and a durable shirt with the freight company's logo on the chest. When he emerged, Lissa was standing by the viewport, his jacket pulled on again. She looked small inside it but determined. Ready? Marcus asked. Yes. The docks occupied levels 3 through 7, massive open bays where ships of various sizes clamped onto station ports to load and unload cargo. Marcus's work area was a glassed-in office overlooking Bay 5, equipped with multiple screens showing real-time manifests, security feeds, and tracking data. His supervisor, a heavy-set woman named Rodriguez with sharp eyes and zero tolerance for discrepancies, looked up when they entered. Chen, you're early. Her gaze moved to Lissa. And you have company. This is Lissa, Marcus said. She's staying with me. Thought I'd show her around the station. Rodriguez studied Lissa with the practiced eye of someone who'd seen every variation of station life. Volnoran. Yes, ma'am, Lissa answered. Good people, your species. Hard workers. Rodriguez turned back to Marcus. She can sit in the observation area as long as she doesn't interfere with operations. We've got 3 transports coming in this morning, all priority freight. You're on containers 447 through 562. Understood. Marcus set Lissa up in a corner of the observation deck with a view of the bay floor. Massive containers were being moved by automated loaders, their magnetic clamps locking onto standardized anchor points. The ballet of heavy machinery had its own rhythm, purposeful, precise, surprisingly graceful. Lissa watched, fascinated, as Marcus moved between screens and the bay floor, scanning container codes, checking seal integrity, occasionally flagging discrepancies for security to investigate. It was methodical work, requiring attention to detail but not particularly exciting. During a lull, Marcus brought her a cup of water from the break room. Told you it was boring. It's not boring, it's organized. Lissa gestured at the bay. All this chaos moving in patterns. Someone has to make sure the patterns hold. That's one way to look at it. You're good at it. She'd been watching more than the cargo. The crew respects you. They listen when you speak. Marcus shrugged. I don't waste their time. That earns respect in any language. Why did you really leave the military? Lissa asked suddenly. I mean the real reason, not the diplomatic answer. Marcus was quiet for a moment, watching a container swing past on magnetic rails. We were sent to secure a mining colony on the edge of the Kep sector. Official story was that separatists were using civilian infrastructure to hide weapons. Unofficial reality was that the colony had refused to sign over mineral rights to a corporation with government connections. They sent you to intimidate them. Worse, they sent us to clear them. Make the place uninhabitable so the corporation could start fresh with contract workers. Marcus's jaw tightened. My commanding officer was fine with it, said it was legal, orders from the top, not our place to question. But I looked at those colonists and saw people who'd built lives in an impossible place. They weren't terrorists. They were farmers and miners and families. So you refused. I refused. 7 others from my unit backed me up. We got general discharges, lost our benefits, got blacklisted from most corporate security work. He looked at her. But those colonists are still there. Last I heard, the legal battle's still ongoing, but at least their homes aren't radioactive craters. Lissa absorbed that, a new understanding forming in her eyes. You've always had a problem with watching people become numbers. Yeah, that's why you stopped at that platform. Yeah. She reached out, hesitated, then let her 4-fingered hand rest lightly on his forearm. The touch was brief but deliberate. Thank you for being the kind of person who stops. Marcus didn't know what to say to that, so he just nodded. The rest of the shift passed quietly. Marcus finished his container checks, filed his reports, and clocked out. Rodriguez gave Lissa a thoughtful look as they left. She's good for you, Rodriguez said to Marcus. You've been too isolated since you got here. She's not, we're not, Marcus stumbled over the explanation. Whatever you are, it's working, don't overthink it. Rodriguez waved them off. See you tomorrow. Outside the docks, Lissa walked beside Marcus through the main concourse. The station's afternoon cycle was in full swing, vendors calling out deals, maintenance crews repairing overhead panels, children from the residential sector darting between adults' legs in some elaborate game. Where are we going? Lissa asked. Level 9. There's a legal advocacy office that handles contract disputes. Woman named T. Kim. She helped a friend of mine get out of a bad labor contract. They took a lift to level 9, emerging into a quieter corridor lined with professional offices. Attorney names, medical practices, financial services, the bureaucratic heart of the station. Kim's office was modest but organized. She was a small woman, Korean descent, with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen too many desperate cases. She looked up when they entered, taking in Marcus and Lissa with one sweeping glance. Marcus Chen, she said, not bothering with pleasantries. I heard through the station gossip network that you did something either very noble or very stupid yesterday. Probably both, Marcus admitted. This is Lissa of Vilnora. She's the reason I'm here. Kim gestured to the chairs opposite her desk. Sit. Tell me everything. Marcus and Lissa sat, and between them they explained the situation. Kim listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes on her datapad. When they finished, she leaned back and steepled her fingers. The good news is that companion contracts have more legal vulnerabilities than labor contracts. The bad news is that challenging them requires demonstrating either coercion, procedural irregularities, or changed circumstances that make enforcement unjust. Kim looked at Lissa. How much pressure did your family apply for you to sign? They didn't force me, Lissa said carefully, but the choice was between signing and watching them lose everything. Is that coercion? Legally, murky. Ethically, Absolutely. Kim pulled up several case files on her screen. But we might not need the coercion angle. Let me check something. Her fingers flew across her interface. What was the name of the broker who processed the transaction? Quillen Broker, Marcus said. Tall, gray-blue skin, worked Platform 12. Veris CH now, Kim said, reading from her screen. A small smile crossed her face. Excellent. He's been flagged for procedural violations in 3 previous cases this quarter. Station administration is watching him closely. What does that mean for us? Lissa asked. It means if we can find even one irregularity in how he processed your contract, we have grounds for review and potential dissolution. Kim started pulling up forms. I'll need you to answer some questions. Some will be uncomfortable. Are you okay with that? Lissa straightened. Ask. For the next hour, Kim walked them through an exhaustive review of the debt settlement process. Where Lissa was held, how she was processed, what information she received, what choices she was given, what medical examinations were conducted. Lissa answered each question with increasing tension, reliving days she'd been trying to forget. Marcus watched her hands grip the armrests tighter and tighter. Finally, he interrupted. Can we take a break? Almost done, Kim said, not unkindly. She pulled up one final form. Lissa, according to Galactic Compact regulations, anyone entering a companion contract must receive counseling about their rights and options before signing. Did you receive such counseling? Lissa frowned. They gave me a datapad with information, told me to read it and sign. Did anyone explain it to you verbally, ask if you understood, offer to answer questions? No, the holding supervisor just handed me the pad and said sign at the bottom. Kim's smile widened. That's our irregularity. Mandatory counseling isn't optional, it's required by station law. If Veris CH Now's operation skipped that step, the entire contract is vulnerable. She started typing rapidly. I'll file a review petition today. Given CH Now's history, we should get a hearing within 2 weeks. In the meantime, Marcus, that contract on your record stays in place, but we're formally contesting it. What happens if the review goes against us? Marcus asked. Then we appeal, and keep appealing until we win or exhaust options. Kim looked at both of them seriously. This could take months, maybe longer. Are you both prepared for that? Marcus looked at Lissa. She looked back at him, something complicated moving behind her violet eyes. Yes, they said together. Kim nodded, satisfied. Good. I'll need payment. My standard rate is 200 credits up front, then 50 per week while the case is active. Can you manage that? Marcus did quick mental math. It would strain his savings but not break him. Yes. Then we have a case. Kim transferred contract documents to Marcus's datapad. Read these tonight. Both of you sign where indicated. Bring them back tomorrow. She stood, signaling the end of the meeting. One more thing. While this case is active, you two need to maintain the appearance of a legitimate partnership. Station arbiters will look at how you're living, whether the arrangement seems exploitative. We're not doing anything exploitative, Marcus said firmly. I believe you, but appearances matter in legal proceedings. Just continue what you're doing. Which, from what I can see, is treating each other like actual humans. Kim's stern expression softened slightly. That's rarer than it should be on this station. They left the office with a folder of documents and cautious hope. In the corridor, Lissa stopped and leaned against the wall, releasing a long breath. That was harder than I expected, she admitted, talking about it, remembering, saying it all out loud. She looked at him. Thank you for stopping her. I was starting to break in there. You were holding up fine. On the outside. Her hand touched her chest. Inside, I was back in that holding cell. Marcus moved closer, careful to maintain space but offering proximity. You're not there anymore, you're here, and we're fighting this. Together, Lissa said quietly. You keep saying we, because that's what this is. We're in this together until you're free. And after, the question hung between them. Marcus realized he hadn't thought that far ahead. What happened when the contract was dissolved? Lissa would be free to leave. She could book passage back to Vilnora or find work elsewhere on the station or disappear into the galaxy entirely. The thought of her leaving created an unexpected hollow feeling in his chest. After, Marcus said carefully, you decide what you want. No pressure. No obligations. Lissa searched his face. What if what I want involves staying? Marcus's heart rate picked up. Then you stay, just like that, just like that. A small smile crossed her face, the first genuine one he'd seen. You're a strange human, Marcus Chen. I've been told that before. They started walking back toward the residential sector. The station's afternoon cycle was giving way to evening, lights dimming slightly, the crowds thinning as people returned home. I want to buy clothes, Lissa said suddenly. Real clothes that fit. I'm tired of wearing your spare shirts. There's a market on level 11. Good prices, decent quality. They detoured to the market, a sprawling maze of stalls selling everything from fresh produce to electronics. The clothing section was run by a Korathi family who specialized in alterations for different species. The matriarch, a kind-faced woman with silvery fur, took one look at Lissa and started pulling out options. Vilnoran build, yes. I have things that will fit. Lissa tried on several outfits, stepping behind a privacy screen and emerging each time for Marcus's opinion. She settled on practical choices, dark pants that fit properly, several comfortable shirts in muted colors, a jacket with actual functioning pockets, and boots that would work on the station's metal floors. When the matriarch tallied the cost, Marcus pulled out his credit chip. I can't let you pay for this too, Lissa protested. Why not? Because I'm already in your debt. You're not in my debt. I'm helping you because I want to, not because I expect repayment. Marcus completed the transaction. Besides, you cooked breakfast this morning. Consider this a trade. Lissa looked like she wanted to argue more, but the matriarch was already bagging everything. Your mate takes good care of you, she said to Lissa warmly. You're lucky. We're not, Lissa started, then stopped. Correcting the assumption felt more complicated than letting it stand. Thank you, she said instead, accepting the bag. They returned to the apartment as evening deepened into night. Lissa changed into her new clothes, emerging from the bedroom looking more like herself, whoever that self was becoming. She stood in the main room, turning slowly as if seeing the space fresh. This is really where I live now. For as long as you want, Marcus confirmed. I keep expecting the catch, the moment when you reveal what you really want from me. What if there is no catch? Then I don't know what to do with that. Lissa sat on the couch, pulling her legs under her. Everyone wants something. That's how the universe works. Marcus sat in the chair opposite her, maintaining distance. Maybe what I want is just to know you're safe. That enough? I don't know, is it? He thought about that, really thought about it. Yes, he wanted her safe. But watching her move through his apartment, seeing her cook in his kitchen, hearing her laugh at something Rodriguez had said at the docks, he was starting to want more than just her safety. He was starting to want her presence. But she needed space to find her footing first. Time to discover who she was outside of debt and desperation. For now, Marcus said carefully, yes, it's enough. Lissa studied him with those sharp violet eyes. You're holding something back. Maybe. Will you tell me eventually, when you're ready to hear it? She absorbed that, then nodded slowly. Okay, I can accept that. They settled into their evening routine, Marcus made a simple dinner while Lissa read through the legal documents Kim had given them. They ate together, conversation flowing more easily than it had that morning. Small things, Lissa asking about Earth, Marcus asking about Thulnora's 3 moons, learning each other through shared stories. After dinner, Lissa stood and stretched. I'm going to shower and sleep. Tomorrow I want to explore more of the station, see what opportunities exist for someone like me. Someone like you. Someone trying to figure out what comes after survival. Marcus watched her disappear into the bedroom, the door closing but not locking this time, a sign of growing trust. He made up his couch bed again, but before lying down, he pulled up job listings on his datapad. Maintenance positions, cargo handling, data entry, kitchen work, jobs that might suit someone with Lissa's skills and didn't require extensive clearance. If she wanted to build a life here, he'd help her find the tools to do it. Part 4. Growing together, 3 weeks passed in a rhythm that gradually felt less temporary. Mornings began with Lissa cooking breakfast. She'd taken over the task completely, claiming Marcus's attempts were functional but joyless. While Marcus reviewed his work schedule, they developed an easy coexistence, moving around the small apartment with practiced efficiency, learning each other's patterns and preferences. Lissa had found part-time work in one of the station's repair shops, using her mechanical skills from the mining operation. The shop owner, a gruff Venturi named Kel, paid her under the table while her legal status was in limbo, but the work gave her purpose and her own income. She insisted on paying half the apartment expenses now, despite Marcus's protests. I'm not your dependent, she'd said firmly, pushing credits across the table. I'm your roommate. Roommates split costs. The legal case crawled forward. Kim had secured their hearing date 2 more weeks away and was confident about their chances. The lack of mandatory counseling was a clear violation, and Varys Chnow's previous infractions strengthened their position. But underneath the practical logistics of daily life, something else was developing. Something neither of them had quite acknowledged yet. Marcus noticed it in small moments. The way Lissa's hand would brush his when she handed him his morning coffee. How she'd started waiting up for him on nights when his shift ran late. The soft smile that appeared when he'd surprise her with her favorite fruit from the market. Lissa felt it too. In the way her heart rate increased when Marcus walked into a room. How safe she felt curled on the couch while he worked at the table. The disappointment she felt when he maintained his careful physical distance. One evening, after they'd both returned from work and shared dinner, Lissa broke the careful equilibrium they'd maintained. Marcus, I have a question. He looked up from his datapad. Okay. Are you attracted to me? The bluntness of it caught him off guard. That's direct. I'm Thulnoran. We don't see the point in circling around difficult topics. She set down her cup. You've been careful not to touch me beyond necessity. You maintain physical distance. You've never looked at me with anything but respect. She paused. Is that because you're not interested or because you think I'm not ready? Marcus set his datapad aside, giving her his full attention. The second one. So you are attracted to me. Yes. No point in lying now, but you've been through trauma. I didn't want to add pressure or confusion to everything else you're dealing with. Lissa was quiet for a moment. What if I told you I'm attracted to you too? Marcus's chest tightened. Then I'd say we should talk about that, carefully. Why carefully? Because in 2 weeks that contract might be dissolved. You'll be free. And I don't want you making decisions about us based on gratitude or obligation or some confused sense of debt. Is that what you think this is? Lissa stood, moving closer to where he sat. Marcus, I spent 3 weeks in holding, watching people give up hope. I watched them become smaller, quieter, more defeated. I swore I wouldn't let that happen to me. She stopped in front of him. Then I met you, and every day since you've treated me like I matter. Not because you own me, but because you see me. I do see you. Then see this. She took his hand, pressing it against her chest where her heart beat strong and steady. This isn't gratitude. This isn't confusion. This is me choosing you because I want to. Marcus stood slowly, their height difference putting them eye to eye. Lissa, if we do this, it's because we both want to, not because of a contract, not because of circumstance, because we genuinely care about each other. Her 4 fingers curled around his. I know I'm ready. The question is whether you are. He searched her face, looking for any sign of doubt or pressure. He found only certainty. I'm ready, he said quietly. Lissa closed the distance between them, her lips meeting his in a kiss that was tentative at first, then deeper as weeks of careful restraint dissolved. Marcus's arms came around her waist, pulling her closer. She made a soft sound, relief or joy or both, and kissed him harder. They broke apart after a long moment, both breathing heavily. Bedroom? Lissa asked. Are you sure? Marcus, I've been sure for 2 weeks. I was just waiting for you to catch up. He laughed, surprised by her directness even now. Okay then. She took his hand and led him to the bedroom, closing the door behind them. This time, when she touched him, there was no hesitation. Her hands traced the lines of his shoulders, his chest, learning the map of him while he did the same with her. They undressed each other slowly, punctuating each revealed piece of skin with kisses and soft touches. Lissa's bronze skin was smooth under his hands, the darker copper bands along her arms and throat fascinating in their natural pattern. You're beautiful, Marcus said, and meant it. So are you. Lissa pushed him gently onto the bed, climbing over him with athletic grace. Let me show you what I want. What followed was tender and intense by turns. They learned each other's bodies with patient exploration, communicating through touch and breath and quiet words. Lissa was confident in her desires, guiding his hands, telling him what felt good. Marcus listened, responded, gave her the space to lead their intimacy. Afterward, they lay tangled together, Lissa's head on his chest, her hair spilling across his shoulder. That was worth waiting for, she said softly. Yeah. Are you okay? You're quiet. Marcus pressed a kiss to the top of her head. I'm more than okay, I'm just processing. What is there to process? That I bought you for 2 credits with the intention of setting you free, and instead I fell for you. He felt her smile against his skin. Wasn't part of the plan. The best things rarely are. Lissa propped herself up on an elbow, looking at him. For what it's worth, I didn't plan this either. I was going to survive, get free, and disappear. Instead, I found someone worth staying for. What happens after the hearing? Assuming we win. Assuming we win. Lissa traced a pattern on his chest, thoughtful. I want to keep my job at the repair shop. Maybe take some technical courses, improve my certifications. I want to build a real life here. She paused. With you, if you'll have me. Lissa, before you answer, you should know something. She met his eyes seriously. I'm not always easy. I have nightmares sometimes. There are days when I wake up and panic because I don't remember where I am. I'm working through trauma and that's messy. I don't care. You should care. You should know what you're signing up for. Marcus caught her hand, holding it firmly. I was military. I have my own nightmares, my own panic moments. We can be messy together. A slow smile spread across her face. Yeah. She kissed him again, softer this time. Then yes, I'll stay. After we're free from that contract, I'll stay because I want to. They fell asleep wrapped around each other, the contract temporarily forgotten, just 2 people choosing each other in the dark. Part 5. The Hearing. The arbitration office on level 10 was designed to be intimidating: high ceilings, sterile white walls, uncomfortable chairs. Lissa sat next to Marcus, her hand gripping his under the table. She wore her best clothes, the dark jacket and pressed pants making her look professional, capable. Kim sat on her other side, datapad open, prepared. Across the table sat Varys Chnal and his lawyer, a sharp-faced human woman who looked bored by the proceedings. Behind them, a station arbiter, a Korathi woman with silver fur and ancient eyes, presided over the hearing. The arbiter activated her recording system. This hearing concerns Companion Contract 47 Delta 892, binding Lissa of Vilnora to Marcus Chen of Earth. Petitioners are requesting dissolution based on procedural irregularities. Respondents are defending the contract's validity. Advocate Kim, you may begin. Kim stood, her voice clear and professional. Thank you, Arbiter. The petitioners contest this contract on the grounds that mandatory counseling, required under Section 7 of the Galactic Compact, was not provided to Ms. Lissa prior to contract execution. Without this counseling, she could not have given informed consent. The respondent's lawyer stood. The counseling was provided via written materials on a datapad. Ms. Lissa had access to all relevant information. Written materials do not satisfy the requirement, Kim countered. The statute explicitly states verbal counseling with qualified personnel. A datapad is insufficient. The arbiter looked at Varys. Mr. Chnal, please describe your standard procedures for processing companion contracts. Varys shifted uncomfortably. Subjects receive a datapad with all contract information. They're instructed to read and sign. It's a standard process across the debt settlement industry. Did you personally explain Ms. Lissa's rights and options? The information was on the datapad. That's not what I asked. A long pause. No, I did not personally explain. Did anyone on your staff provide verbal counseling? No, the arbiter made notes. And this is your standard procedure. It's how the industry operates. The industry, Kim interjected, is violating station law. Mr. Chnal has been cited for similar violations in 3 previous cases this quarter. This is a pattern of disregard for basic legal protections. The respondent's lawyer tried to recover. Even if counseling was inadequate, the contract itself is sound. Ms. Lissa signed willingly. Mr. Chen completed the purchase. All financial obligations were met. Willingness requires informed consent, Kim said. Ms. Lissa could not consent to something she didn't fully understand. The arbiter turned to Lissa. Ms. Lissa, please stand and approach. Lissa squeezed Marcus's hand once, then stood and moved to the witness position. Tell me, in your own words, what you understood about the companion contract when you signed it. Lissa's voice was steady despite her obvious nerves. I understood that I was being sold to resolve my family's debt. I understood that whoever purchased me would control where I lived, whether I could work, and whether I could leave. I understood that I would have no legal recourse for 2 years. Did anyone explain that companion contracts include protections against abuse, that you could petition for dissolution under specific circumstances, that educational opportunities should be provided? No. The datapad mentioned those things briefly, but I didn't understand what they meant in practice. If you had received proper counseling, would you have signed? Lissa paused. Honest answer or strategic answer? She chose honesty. I don't know. My family was desperate, but I would have understood what I was agreeing to, and that matters. The arbiter nodded. Thank you, please sit. The hearing continued for another hour, Kim methodically dismantling every defense the respondent offered. By the end, even Varys's lawyer looked resigned to defeat. Finally, the arbiter spoke. I've heard sufficient evidence. This hearing is concluded. I will issue my ruling within 3 business days. She deactivated the recording. You're all dismissed. Outside the arbitration office, Lissa sagged against the wall. How do you think it went? Well, Kim said confidently. Very well. CH Now's admission that he provided no counseling was damning. I'd be surprised if we don't win. And then the contract is dissolved and you're free. Kim looked at Marcus. Both of you. 3 days later, the ruling arrived. Marcus and Lissa were having breakfast when Marcus's datapad chimed with an official notification. They both froze, staring at the device. Open it, Lissa whispered. Marcus activated the message. The official seal of the station arbiter filled the screen, followed by dense legal text. His eyes scanned rapidly, looking for the relevant section. Contract dissolution approved. Companion Contract 47 Delta 892 is hereby dissolved effective immediately on grounds of procedural irregularity and failure to provide mandatory counseling. We won, Marcus said, disbelief and relief flooding through him. Lissa, we won. She grabbed the datapad, reading the ruling herself. Tears started streaming down her face, the first time Marcus had seen her cry. I'm free, she said, voice breaking. I'm actually free. Marcus pulled her into his arms, holding her while she sobbed against his chest. Months of fear, humiliation, and uncertainty poured out in racking sobs. He just held her, stroking her hair, letting her release everything she'd been holding back. When she finally calmed, she pulled back, wiping her eyes. Sorry, I didn't mean to fall apart. You didn't fall apart, you felt something, there's a difference. She laughed wetly. I'm free, Marcus. Do you understand what that means? Yeah, it means you can make your own choices now. It means I can choose you without any legal complications or power imbalances or questions about whether I'm really choosing or just surviving. She cupped his face. I choose you, freely, completely. No contract, no obligation, just me wanting to build a life with you. Are you sure? You could leave, see the galaxy, go back to the Lenora. I could, but I don't want to. Her smile was radiant. I want to stay here with the strange human who bought me for 2 credits and gave me everything. Marcus kissed her deep and thorough. When they broke apart, he was smiling too. Then stay, not as someone I freed, as my partner. Partner, Lissa repeated, testing the word. I like that. They spent the rest of the day celebrating in small ways. Kim called to congratulate them, sounding genuinely pleased. Rodriguez, when they told her at the docks, just grunted and said, "Took you long enough." Kel at the repair shop offered Lissa a full-time position with benefits. That night, lying in bed together, Lissa traced patterns on Marcus's chest. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. That 3 months ago, I was standing on a platform priced at 2 credits, convinced my life was over. She looked up at him. And now I'm here, free, with someone who sees me as more than a number or a problem or a piece of property. You were always more than that. I know, but for the first time in a long time I feel it. She kissed his shoulder. Thank you for stopping, for caring, for giving me the space to become myself again. Thank you for trusting me, for staying. They fell asleep wrapped together, the contract dissolved, the future open, 2 people who'd found each other in the worst possible circumstances and built something real from it. Epilogue. 1 year later, the apartment on level 16 looked different now. Lissa had added plants to the viewport, tough species that thrived in recycled air. The couch had been replaced with something more comfortable. Pictures decorated the walls, snapshots of their life together. Marcus and Lissa at the station's observation deck. Lissa in her repair shop uniform, holding a complex piece of machinery she just fixed. Marcus and Rodriguez at a dock workers' celebration. Lissa had advanced to senior technician at Kell's shop. Her skills, combined with technical courses she'd completed, made her one of the most sought-after repair specialists on the station. She'd even sent a message to her family, carefully worded, tentatively hopeful. They'd responded. Conversations were ongoing, rebuilding. Marcus had been promoted to shift supervisor, a position he'd initially resisted but eventually accepted when Rodriguez threatened to promote someone less qualified. They'd moved beyond the trauma that brought them together, though echoes remained. Lissa still had occasional nightmares. Marcus still struggled with crowds sometimes. But they navigated those moments together, with patience and understanding. On the anniversary of the day Marcus had stopped at platform 12, they returned to that spot. The deck floor looked the same: platforms, holographic placards, people being reduced to numbers. "Still makes me angry," Marcus said, watching a new round of auctions begin. "Me too." Lissa squeezed his hand. "But we can't save everyone. We saved each other." She smiled at that. "Yes, we did." They walked away from the deck floor back toward their home. Equal partners building a future neither had planned but both had chosen. Behind them, the debt auctions continued. Somewhere, someone else stood on a platform hoping for a chance. The galaxy turned. Lives intersected in unexpected ways. And sometimes, rarely, 2 credits could buy something priceless: freedom, trust, and love freely given. End.